Hello, Mr. Albert. My name is Carmen Keith. I am a medical doctor who has been working with ASEA in my clinic for several months, and I was asked to help you with some of your questions, and I'm excited to be able to help you through some of this. I understand that you haven't been taking it very long and you had some questions. So those questions have been forwarded to me, but before I get to those, I just want to review with you what exactly ASEA redox signaling, I call it a bioreplacer, not a supplement, is. So redox signaling and redox biochemistry seems intimidatingly big words, but it really is not. If I could just explain it simply like this, redox signaling and redox biochemistry is the reason that sunlight turns from sun energy into, say, a fruit on a tree, a vegetable on a plant, okay? It's called photosynthesis, okay? A redox-like reaction is what makes gas in a car turn into movement of the car, okay? Redox signaling is the reason that your eyes blink, your heart beats, and your brain works without you even thinking about it. And so redox signaling is something that occurs at the cellular level. Now, there's 75 to 90 trillion cells in each one of us, Mr. Albert, and all of those cells do something specific and by design. So when cells come together, they create tissues, and when tissues come together, they create organs, and when organs come together, they create organ systems, and then when organ systems come together, they make a whole person. And so when we talk about proportion, when you knock out 1,000 cells out of a few, 75 to 90 trillion, you're probably not going to notice it. But when you start knocking out organs or organ systems, trillions of cells magnitude, you're going to notice it. And that is going to come out in the form of diagnoses or symptoms. And so what redox signaling is it is the body's natural ability to detect, repair, and replace the sick cells. Okay, so a normal cell takes in the energy that you feed your body through proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, foods. It takes it into the cell, and if the body isn't having the right conditions, the cell will use that to make energy, and then the cell will use that to make redox molecules. And the redox molecules help each cell to communicate. And then those cells, it's kind of like the domino effect. If those cells communicate well, then the tissues will communicate well, and the organs will communicate well, and the organ systems will communicate well. But if those do not communicate well, then there's a breakdown that occurs. And so the redox molecules are very important, again, for detecting, repairing, and replacing those sick cells. Because it works on a cellular level, though, it is hard to understand when we start feeling a detoxification reaction. And so the type of doctor I am, I'm an anesthesiologist, pain management physician, and I'm also a functional medicine doctor. So I run a lifestyle and wellness clinic right now. And what I have to help people understand is getting better and getting healthy. A lot of times we have to go through periods of the body getting rid of stuff. And I just explain it kind of like cleaning up the streets or brooming. So when you broom out a room, so you want to broom out your garage, what happens? Well, dust flies up, okay? And it takes a little bit of time for that dust to settle. Well, so is the same thing when we start trying to navigate the body into a more healthy approach. And when we have that dust that flies up, we have choices. We have the choice. Number one, before we start to broom, we have the choice to recognize that, the dust is going to fly up. So what are we going to do? We may choose to put a mask on. We may choose to broom a little less vigorously. We may choose to just go right at it and just suffer the consequences, right? And so when we take that analogy into perspective and we put it onto efforts at getting healthy, what I also like to say is the same thing happened when we were getting sick. okay? And just like we didn't get sick overnight, we don't get well overnight. Just like we didn't get a diagnosis overnight necessarily for everyone, we're not going to turn a diagnosis into a memory overnight or with one set of vitamins, okay? And so I want to explain to you just that detox process the body will go through before it can actually have a foundation to build itself back up on. And detox reactions are very common, and people don't necessarily recognize they go through them, but they go through them even when we take a new pharmaceutical drug. So take me a little while to get used to that new drug, doc. Well, that's a little bit of a detox reaction happening on some level as well, because it's not just affecting one cell or one system, it's affecting a lot, okay? And when we talk about that, just recognize that detoxification and kind of feeling bad before you feel better is a natural part of the healing process without that sounding too, it's hard to understand, and I get that. And so I just want to speak into that is normal. How long will it last? Well, it varies. Some people it just takes them a couple days. Some people it takes them 2 weeks, okay? Or even longer. It just depends. But when we take that brooming out the garage analogy, and we recognize we're in the middle now potentially of dust flying up, we have to say, what then can we do? Well, number one is, for you in the detoxification process, what makes it worse? Well, sometimes it's worse because of just how sick we are when we begin to try to improve the process of our health. But also it can be worse when we are not well hydrated. And so I always recommend for people who are starting to get healthy to make sure they're getting enough water. Well, how much is enough, doc? Well, the old adage of eight glasses a day is not enough. So you take half of your body weight and you drink that in ounces. So simply, if you weigh 200 pounds, you would have a water goal of 100 ounces a day. Now, I would suggest not starting on that goal at 5 o'clock at night, or you're going to be super upset when you have to be up all night using the bathroom. So I tell my patients that we need to work on that before 3 p.m., okay? And so hydrating yourself, and then when you're going through this detoxification process, continuing to push those fluids and getting some exercise to help your body get rid of things, okay? If you are not eliminating, meaning if you're constipated, then that's another way that the body's going to hold on to these toxins. We have to get things moving to get the bad out, okay? The next thing I would suggest is that you perhaps, I don't know how much ASEA you are taking, but you might want to back down on it. This is, in the analogy, this is kind of getting the smaller broom, if you will. And so if you want to take a less amount, then that's perfectly fine, okay? Take 1 ounce in the morning and stay there for several days or weeks until you are ready to move up from there. But be patient with your body and listen to it, and you do it at your comfort level. I was shared that you had some lung issues, and I wanted to let you know that, there is a study that ASEA did specifically on lung cells, and you can find it. It's on their website under research. It's a lot of scientific words, but I can boil it down for you. And so what they did was they took ASEA in different concentrations and they put it on human lung cells, and what they found was that proliferation was inhibited, and that in our common words means that proliferation happens in tumors. And so what it showed was that it did not promote the proliferation of lung cells, and in fact it showed that it strengthened the cell wall. That's the lining of the wall, and it strengthened that. And so when we're talking about ASEA and how it works on tissues, understand the lungs are one of the most receptive tissues to having the benefits of ASEA. Can you nebulize it? Many choose to, and the answer is yes, you can. And then there was the concern of, can it harm you? And this is one of the things that I had a hard time myself as a doctor wrapping my brain around it, which is, ASEA is non-toxic, period. And it is scientifically proven to be non-toxic, period. And that is what makes this a huge, huge opportunity for people who are struggling with illness and who want to better their health. And that's because there's nothing out there that I could prescribe to you from my prescription pad that would not have an interaction potentially with something else that you were taking or with your other comorbidities, meaning your illnesses. And so having this on a bottle of ASEA is huge, because now you can take your health into your own hands and get that benefit that you seek. I don't believe there's one person who would tell me they don't want to feel better, but you just got to understand the process by which to get there. Okay, it's not like a light switch. It's more like one of those dimmer switches. Okay, the light will come on gradually. Okay. And so I sure hope that this helps you understand better what ASEA is, how it works. Understand the toxicity lies on the fact that redox signaling molecules are native to your body. Your body makes them already. Okay, and so there are pregnant women who take this. So for a woman to take something not only that could affect her health, but the health of her baby that she's carrying, that's a big deal. And so many pregnant women take this because of the non-toxic nature of it. It's safe for kids and pets. I mean, anything with a cell, okay? I have a veterinarian friend who is using this on his pet patients. It's good for anything with a cell. And so while it does sound very, gigantic claims, if you will, I was the same way. And I had to do a lot of investigating on my own, but rest assured, I have done that. If it helps you, I'm very well educated. I am from the South. You might can tell that. I'm from Arkansas originally. I lived in Tupelo for a while. But this little Arkansas girl had the opportunity to go to Harvard, and so that is where I did a lot of my training. And so understand, I don't take science lightly, and I don't take my patient's health lightly. I will tell you briefly that ASEA came into my life at a time this year when my dad was super, super ill. And when the doctors told us that there was nothing else they can do, my mom looked at me like, what are you going to do? And I said, well, you've got it already. And she goes, oh, the blue bottle? She had been taking it for a couple weeks. She noticed it helped her sleep better and helped her kind of, in her words, the lights were on. And so my dad at the time was not able to eat or drink anything. He, in fact, had a feeding tube. And so we started using the ASEA liquid on a swab or a sponge on a stick, if you will, and just moved it around in his mouth because the ASEA is absorbed mostly in the mouth. So if you are swishing it around for 15 to 30 seconds before you swallow it, then you're doing the right thing. And so I knew that if I could just get it in his mouth, it would help. But what I also chose to do with him was I used the gel. The gel has 2 times the redox molecule concentration that the liquid does. And so I chose to use that, and I put that on the areas of his body where it could absorb into the main circulation stream. And so that would have been on his neck. The main carotid arteries are there. And I chose to put it on the back of his neck at the level of his upper cervical spine to help potentially his mobility. And I will share with you that after only 2 weeks of doing that, my dad not only got the feeding tube out and started eating full meals without problems, but he started walking unassisted in the hallway for the first time in 5 months that he did that. He is now, I am happy to say, home and doing quite well considering the circumstances before he left the hospital. And he was in a major tertiary care center up in St. Louis. He was deemed the miracle man. And what ASEA has done for me and my family on a first-hand basis has been hands down what the medical system could offer us. It has been beyond what medicine could offer. And again, I am a medical doctor, but I also am a daughter. I am a human, and I believe that the Lord uses science and uses people to help better lives. And so I just want to encourage you that you have something special, and you have a special opportunity with ASEA, and I will pray for you in that, and I sure wish you the best in health and all that life has remaining to offer you. So I hope this helps you out, and if there's anything else that I could help with, just let Jessica know, and I would be happy to. Have a great day. Bye-bye.